Welcome to another video with Sentinel17 Gaming. I'm Steve and thanks for joining me for this video. I greatly appreciate it. Now if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, hit the bell icon so you can be notified when I upload new videos, and if you know someone else who might enjoy this video, definitely share it with them. Now today's video isn't just about Grand Theft Auto, it's about open world crime action games. Now in the past generation we've seen tons of sandbox open world games, but to be honest they've gone from their origins of being about crime and drugs and gangs and such, and they've gone to encompass a lot of different genres such as RPGs, fantastical elements, things like that. And while a lot of people feel like the market is oversaturated with open world games, I want to point out that almost none of those open world games anymore are in the Grand Theft Auto vein, if you want to call it that. They're just not GTA clones anymore, and I kind of feel like that's why the bar has gotten so low for open world crime action games, because basically people are like, hey, there's none out there, we'll pretty much take whatever we can get. And I kind of feel like that's why some people are playing the Saints Row reboot right now, and they're okay with it because their expectations are set so low because we haven't had GTA clones in such a long time. It's basically like, you know, the guy that's wandering through the desert and he's dying of thirst. He hasn't had a drink of water in 2 days. And you give him water that was retrieved from a public toilet. It tastes like shit, but he's going to be like, oh my god, it's water, thank you so much. I kind of feel like that's where we are as far as open world crime action games. And I think that's kind of why Volition thought they could get away with the bullshit that they did in Saints Row. Now, I am going to talk about that. I'm also going to talk about some of the glitches and stuff, but kind of what it means as a whole for this genre that's almost entirely forgotten nowadays. Now, of course, we are having some games in that genre, technically, like the Watch Dogs games. However, I want to point out that Watch Dogs it's more of a hybrid, I guess. It's as much of a open world crime action game technically as Grand Theft Auto was in the past, but Watch Dogs also incorporates a lot of hacking elements, and it's been interesting. It's been fun, with Watch Dogs 2 I think being the best. Watch Dogs Legion came out a couple years ago, and it didn't do as good as it could have. I think a lot of that was that they basically tried, rather than have one protagonist, to say anybody can be the protagonist. And the problem, of course, with that is that you get to where you'll have characters that no one really gives a shit about. And that presents its own problems. But the biggest problem is that you don't have a character-driven open-world crime action game that you really care about anymore. And I think while Watch Dogs Legion, they had a good idea going in, its execution just wasn't the best. Now, as far as Saints Row goes, yes, there's one character you play as. However, I just don't give a shit about him. Now, when I say I don't give a shit about him, I mean, yes, I'm trying to pass the missions, and yes, I'm trying to keep him alive and help the Saints, in quotation marks, survive. But believe me when I tell you, this version of the Saints, this version of the Saints couldn't even lace up Johnny Gat's boots. Alright? And that's probably being generous. It's like you could have Shandy or Pierce pop in on this 4-man crew or 4-person crew, and they could beat the fuck out of them in like 15 seconds. This version of the Saints, the developer said, oh, it's for modern audiences. No, stop. It's like, stop with that shit. The Saints is all about gang warfare, just like Grand Theft Auto was about Grand Theft Auto. And like I said, I'm not just crapping on the Saints. The Saints Row game, again, it's that drink of water to the thirsty man that's been wandering around in the desert for the past couple of days. So a lot of people are going to overlook tons of issues, and when I say tons of issues, I mean the piss poor characters, the horrible writing, the cringeworthy dialogue, the tons of glitches, and believe me, there's tons of them. Some of them so bad you have to exit the game, but it's not just them. Grand Theft Auto 5 had this also. Now, when I say Grand Theft Auto 5 had this, it's a Grand Theft Auto game where you can't steal cars and sell them to a chop shop. Alright? You could do that in Grand Theft Auto 4, you could do that in San Andreas, you could do that in Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City, but you can't do that in Grand Theft Auto 5. Why? You know? Grand Theft Auto 5 was the only modern title that had no single-player DLC, that was actually canceled because they wanted to focus instead on tons of content for GTA Online, which, for most of you that don't know, if you're not running with the crew, you're facing tons of rich kids who spend their daddy's credit cards on shark cards, and they're flying around on jet bikes. It's completely fucking ridiculous, and it takes away the whole purpose of an open world crime action game. You know, it's the whole open world crime action game is so you can get away from other people's bullshit, and so you can just enjoy tearing shit up for a while without other people stopping you. And of course, in GTA Online, other people will stop you. The whole situation is just, you know, it's completely ridiculous. And while I think the genre is in a bad place, I do want to say that the leaks for GTA 6 gave me some hope going forward. Now, obviously in this video, I'm not including any of the leaked content. I did watch it extensively, and there is going to be a podcast that I'm going to be on that I will be talking about this. But I know some people were like, oh, the footage looks horrible, or this or that, and I'm like, you have to understand, this isn't polished footage. This is probably pre-alpha where they're working out the recoil of the weapons and how the AI reacts and all this stuff. But the thing that really gave me hope for that game is the focus on crime. And yes, I get it. Frank and Michael and Trevor stuck up banks and shit. But there's so much about Grand Theft Auto 5 that's about movies and about pop culture. And yeah, I get it. All the games are about pop culture in a way. But most of Michael's focus was about his family and his standing in Beverly Hills, which is basically Rockford Hills, and him wanting to make movies, and Devin Weston, who in my opinion was the shittiest villain in all of Grand Theft Auto. And again, it goes back to you know, the whole thirsty man with the glass of water thing. You look at all the other villains. You look at Dmitry Rascalov. You look at you know, Sonny Forelli. You look at, what was his name from San Andreas? The crooked cop, voiced by Samuel L. Jackson. Officer Tenpenny. You know, you look at those guys. Those guys are great villains. You look at Devin Weston. I mean, he's crap. He's absolute garbage, you know. And the fact that that was the last villain for Grand Theft Auto 5, it was very underwhelming. And it shows how far the series has fallen. But with the way they're shaping Grand Theft Auto 6 to be a Bonnie and Clyde type of experience, it gives me hope. For Grand Theft Auto 6 anyway. Now, as far as Saints Row, there's a lot of things wrong with it. The writing is horrible. And while the boss of everything, the Embracer Group, is saying, hey, yeah, you know what? We're upset about this. We're saddened by this. You got some devs on... You got some of the developers from Saints Row on Twitter saying absolutely crazy shit. And by crazy, I mean if they were in public saying this to people, they would get punched in the face for it. Now, I'm not going to name which specific individual that I'm talking about here because I don't want to give them a shout out. They're not worth that much. But I do want to say that if you've been keeping an eye on this at all, and you've been watching it on Twitter, you probably are aware of who I'm talking about. They were calling people stuff that was borderline criminal, just because they didn't enjoy Saints Row. And it's like, don't be pissed because the characters are forgettable, the storyline is garbage, the dialogue is cringy. You know, it's like your game has more glitches in it. Almost more glitches in it than Cyberpunk had at launch, and that's ridiculous. And then they're like, oh, if you don't like this game, you're this or you're that. It's like, shut up. It's like, shut up. First of all, you need to stop talking, and you need to say, okay, what was wrong with our product that so many people didn't like? And rather than tell them, well, if you don't like it, you don't have to play it, stop that shit. It didn't work for Patrick Soderlund. Battlefield V lost anywhere from $250 to $400 million because of him opening his big ass mouth, and shortly thereafter, he was kicked out of EA. Now, don't listen to that bullshit. Oh, he left and he was smiling. No, they threw him out. Because he'd been there for years and years and years, and shortly after he opens his mouth and says some stupid shit, he's thrown out. That's how it really was. Companies are never going to tell you how it really was, because it would look embarrassing for EA to say, hey, we grabbed Patrick Soderlund by the seat of his fucking pants and threw him on the sidewalk. So they're never going to tell you the truth about what's going on with that. So this developer is angry that people don't like their shit game. I'm sorry. Rockstar Games doing the same shit. The Red Dead Redemption or Save Red Dead Online hashtag was trending, and they wouldn't respond to it. They completely ignored it. That's why I stress that it's not just these games that are lacking. It's the leadership and the people behind them. And I think the change of leadership over time has kind of contributed to the shift of focus from GTA clones to a whole bunch of other open world sandbox games. Like you got the Assassin's Creed games, which are all open world sandbox. Far Cry is the same thing. Now, Far Cry did it really well for a while. So did Assassin's Creed. But those aren't open world crime action games. Not like Grand Theft Auto. Okay, so my point is that just because there's a drought of these titles doesn't mean that A, people need to be buying them up as if they're going to be illegal tomorrow. That's number one. And number two, these developers don't need to lower their own internal bars because they can get away with shit. What they need to do is they need to not look at, oh, well, what can we barely get away with? And people will say, oh, that's fine. No, blow their minds with how polished it is, with not having any significant bugs, with how great the writing is, with how phenomenal every other element is. And that's one thing that for the most part Grand Theft Auto excels in. That's why I also know that Grand Theft Auto 6, because they see the error of their ways, and with every iteration they improve upon it. That's why I think Grand Theft Auto is really going to, with GTA 6, they're going to blow everyone's minds, they're going to make people happy, they're going to make people want to buy this game. But you got other companies like Volition, that if they keep allowing their developers to make stupid mistakes and not listen to the fans, I mean, we may never see another Saints Row again, and that sucks because when Saints Row first came out, it was one of the big GTA clones that actually developed its own identity and its own feel, and that's what drew people to it. Original Saints Row and Saints Row 2 were some of the most memorable open-world crime action games that weren't GTA. And we really should strive to bring those types of games back because I think the gaming industry as a whole would benefit from it. So while I do feel that we need GTA clones back, unfortunately, the new Saints Row isn't exactly what the doctor ordered, and I'd say it's worth maybe $30. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, please don't forget to do so. Share this video with someone else who may enjoy it. And if you're not following me on Twitter yet, definitely do so at Sentinel17. Thanks for watching this video. I'll catch you guys later.